All right, this is 5th grade Excel, lesson 25. We're going to be learning a lot of stuff on this lesson, rounding and estimating mainly. So let's get started before we run out of time on the video. When rounding to the nearest 10, you look at the digit to the ones place. When rounding to the nearest 100, look at and underline the digit in the tens place. When rounding to the nearest 1,000, look at it and underline the digit in the hundreds place. When the digit is 5 or greater, you round up. So we're going to round each of these numbers to the nearest 10. The tens place is the 7. All we do is look to the right of the number that we're rounding to. Since we're rounding to the 7 or the tens place, we look to the right and we see a 5. If that number is a 5 or greater, which it is in this case, we're going to take the 7 and we're going to bump it up to an 8. So that becomes 80. And it's the nearest 10, so it has to end in at least 1 0. At least 1 0. We round to the nearest 100, it has to end in at least 2 zeros. And when we round to the nearest 1,000, the answer has to have at least 3 zeros. So number 2, again, we're rounding to tens place. Look to the right. Is that number 5 or greater? No, it's not. It's lower than 5. So we're going to round down to 90 instead of up to 100. All right, go ahead and pause the video and try number 3 on your own there. What you should have done is look to the right of the 3 at the 8. That 8 tells the 3 to bump up to a 4. So the answer is 40. All right, now we're going to round to the nearest hundreds place. 126, we're rounding to this 1, the number 1 right there. We look to the right to the underlined digit. That 2 is not 5 or bigger, so we're going to leave the 1 alone, or we're going to round down to 100 instead of rounding up to 200. The next one, we're looking at the 5 on this one, because we're going to round to where the 2 is in the hundreds place. And that 5 is 5 or bigger, so I have to round the 2 up to a 3. So the answer is 300. Remember, hundreds place has to end in at least 2 zeros. Okay, on this one, the hundreds place is right here. It's 3,542. I look to the right of that 500, and I see the number 4. Now, 4 is not 5 or bigger, so I'm going to round down, or I'm going to leave the 5 alone. Don't drop the 3 off or the 3,000. It's 3,500. Notice that's the nearest 100 there. But I would not just write 500 because 500 is nowhere near 3,542. All right, pause the video. Go ahead and try number 7. Turn it back on when you're ready to see the solution. You're rounding to this spot where the 3 is, so you look to the right at the 6. The 6 tells you to bump the 3 up to a 4. So the answer is 5,400. This should be review for you, by the way. If it's not, maybe you missed something along the way. Number 8, we're going to round to the nearest thousands place. Well, this 5 is in the thousands place, so I look to the right and I see a 3. The 3 tells me to leave the 5 alone. It's not 5 or greater. That 3 is not 5 or greater in the hundreds place. So in the thousands place, I just go down, or I leave it at the 5,000, and the answer here is 5,000. And the next one, the thousands place is right here. I look to the right and I see a 6 in the hundreds place. That is 5 or greater, so I need to bump this 0 up to a 1. So the answer is 11,000 for that one. Okay, this last one's kind of tricky, but I'm going to have you pause the video and see if you can do number 10 on your own. Turn it back on when you're ready to see what the answer is. You are rounding to the thousands place on this one. The thousands place is right here. There's no number in the thousands place, and we're looking to the right to the 7 that's in the hundreds place. The 7 says to bump that 0 up. So the closest 1,000 to 726 is simply 1,000. It's the very first 1,000. All right, now we're going to learn a little bit about, about taking this idea of rounding and estimating answers. It says round the 2-digit numbers in each problem to the nearest 10. Compute the answer to both problems. The rounded answer will not be exact. The difference between the two answers will depend on the difference between the original numbers. These are the original numbers, and the numbers to which they are rounded over here. So what we're learning right now is called estimation. Anytime they give you a problem that says what is the answer about or approximately or estimate the answer, you don't want to use the numbers that they gave you. You want to take each one of those numbers and round them off. And so the numbers given in this problem are 46, 25, 11, and 55. We want to round those off to the nearest tens place. 46 rounds to 50, 25 rounds to 30, 11 rounds to 10, and 55 rounds to 60. Well, let's add these up and see what we come out with. The real answer would be 11, 12, 17, carry the 1, 7, 8, 13, 137. The estimation problem, that's a bunch of zeros. That's 8 and 7, which is 13, is 130. You can see we're only 7 off. So an estimation of 130 is pretty close to the real answer of 137. All right, now it's going to be your turn. I want you to try number 12. Round each one of the numbers over here, add up your estimation, and add up your real answer, then turn the video back on, just for number 12. Okay, 42, you should have rounded to 40. 59 rounds to 60. 13 rounds to, 10. And 15 rounds to 20. That 5 bumps that 1 up to a 2. We just add all zeros together. 10 plus 3 is 13. That's 130, a lot like the last one. 2 plus 9, the real answer, 11. 14 plus 5 is 19. Carry the 1. 5 and 5 is 10. Plus 2, that's 12. 129. Wow, only 1 off. Okay, now do number 13. Round each one of these numbers over here. And then do the subtraction and see what you get for both problems. Pause the video, turn it back on when you're ready for the solution. Okay, 92 rounds to 90. 26 rounds to 30. 90 minus 30 is 60. On this one, hopefully you didn't do 2 minus 6 is 4. That's a mistake kids make a lot because we have to regroup here. 12 minus 6, you can't do 2 minus 6, right? 12 minus 6 is 6. 8 minus 2 is 6. And so we get an answer of 66. If you did this wrong, you probably got 74 for your answer. 66 is pretty close to 60. All right, for this last one, before you get started on your own, you're not going to round this bottom number. You're only going to round the top number for this multiplication problem. So go ahead and give it a shot, then turn the video back on. All right, you rounded 26 to 30, and I said do not round that bottom number, so we're just going to leave it at 4. And so this is 120 because 3 times 4 is 12. And then you do 6 times 4, which is 24, carry the 2. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 2 is 10. So the 104 and 120, those are pretty close, but you can see when we're rounding 26 up to 30 that our answer is going to definitely get bigger than the exact correct answer. All right, here's some estimation problems with word problems. So let's do the first one together. Norm's school has 182 children in the 3rd grade, 250 in the 4th, and 345 in the 5th. Estimate, keyword, how many children are in the 3 grades. So they only want an estimation, so we're going to round off each one of these. That's going to be 200. That's going to be 300 because the 5 bumps the 2 up to a 3. And 345 is going to be 300. You add these up and get 800. Notice how I showed my work over here rather than doing it right here where it's going to run into my line. I always want to leave this part right here open for my answers in my word problems. I never want to show my work in that space. So the answer is 800 children. Okay, if you haven't done that yet, go ahead and fill that in on your paper. Then pause the video, do number 16 all by yourself. Turn it back on when you're ready to see the solution. All right, 32. After you read this problem, you realize you're just going to round each one of these. 32, 40, 30, and 40 are these numbers right here, rounded. So we add all the zeros together, of course. 3 plus 4 is 7. 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 and 7 makes 14. So the answer is 140. Total score for the quizzes. That's 140 points. I bet some of you missed the label on that one. Make sure you get the right label. All right, here are 2 other problems that require estimation, and then your estimate is going to be in the choices right here. Actually, it's one other problem. So go ahead and try number 17 on your own. Pause the video, turn it back on when you're ready for the solution. It says Pierre drives 52 miles a day to work. The best estimate for how far he drives in 5 days. Now, a lot of kids don't estimate on these. Make sure you round and estimate. So it's 50 times 5, which is 250, and 250 falls right into there between 225 and 275. Now, they did give you the answer, and they did give you some show work here, but hopefully you got that idea. All right, let's go on to the last part here. Rounding is a process used for estimating or testing the reasonableness of a mathematical computation. So we use rounding to get an approximate answer. When rounding for these purposes, or estimate I should say, the rounded number should have just one non-zero digit. You get this to get to this point by looking at the you get to this point by looking at the non-zero digit that is at the farthest to the left. the number will be rounded to this place. You decide whether the number will be rounded up or rounded down by looking at the first digit to the right of this place. So what we're saying is that when we estimate, we always want to round our numbers all the way to the left. So if we have some giant number like this, and we want to use estimation of that, we're going to round this number all the way over to here. All the way to the left. The first number you come to all the way to the left, or I should say the last number you come to all the way to the left, it's not a 0. It's a non-zero. And so we're going to do that on these problems here. Number 18, the number that's all the way to the left is a 7 that's not a 0. We round to that place and call it 70,000. On this one, the number all the way to the left is this number in the 10,000s place, the 9. Well, when I look to the right of the 9, that 6 makes that 9 bump up to a 10. So the answer is 10 10,000s or 100,000. You can see this, if that becomes a 10, we have a 0 here and then 3 zeros, we have 100,000. All right, let's do number 20 together. Again, all the way to the left, that's the 1. We look to the right and we see that 5, which bumps the 1 up to a 2. So that's 2,000. Notice that my answers all have only one digit that's not a 0. Everything else has to be zeros. Only one number that's not a 0. Okay, you go ahead and try 21 through 23. Pause the video, turn it back on when you're ready for the solutions. All the way to the left, that's a 6. We do 6,000 because that 4 does not bump the 6 up. All the way to the left on this one, that 5, we look to the right, does not bump the 5 up, so the answer is 500. All the way to the left on that one, that's that 2. To the right of that is a 6, so that's going to bump the 2 up to a 3, 30,000. All right, thanks for watching.